Premier League chiefs worry as star players won't promote the vaccine. Premier League stars are refusing to take part in a publicity campaign encouraging players to get the COVID-19 vaccine, in a further sign that the issue is causing unease inside dressing rooms. Sportsmail has learned that as the vaccination rate among players has stalled in recent weeks, numerous clubs have held talks about releasing a video featuring big-name players, promoting the importance of getting jabbed. But the project has failed to get off the ground due to a lack of volunteers. Gareth Southgate released a video on behalf of the NHS in July, urging young people to get vaccinated. The England manager said, "If you haven't had your vaccine yet, go and get it done, and you guys will get your freedom back." But there has been no similar message from the players despite concerns about stalling vaccination rates. The Premier League will not disclose how many players have been vaccinated, but in the EFL the figure remains around 70% of staff and players. Both leagues have arranged briefings for club managers and captains, with Deputy Chief Medical Officer Professor Jonathan Van Tam, in which he sought to debunk numerous vaccine myths, but they are struggling to find players to front a publicity campaign. The EFL will this week step up their attempts to promote vaccination by sending information to all players in a question and answer format, and they are also working with lower division clubs who have smaller medical staffs to set up pop-up vaccination centers at training grounds and stadiums. Southgate revealed last month that he had received more abuse for promoting vaccination than he did for his controversial penalty taker selections after England lost the European Championship final to Italy in a shootout, and the players may be wary of putting themselves in a similar position. "I was asked to do a video supporting the vaccination program, which I thought was responsible, and of all the things that I've received abuse for over the summer, of which there have been several, that's probably the one I've received the most abuse over," Southgate said. "So I'm probably going to keep out of that argument for the time being." Arsenal Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexander Lacazette were among 4 players who were ruled of the Premier League opener against Brentford after testing positive for COVID-19. Willian and Alex Renarson were the other 2. Aston Villa manager Dean Smith has admitted that not everyone is vaccinated. "We are certainly pushing to get everyone vaccinated," said Smith. "We have a dedicated medical person who is on the case. It is something we are certainly encouraging." Burnley, the club, said their youth players were taking up the offer of getting vaccinated at a Turf Moor pop-up site before the senior team's match at home to Leeds. Young fans are being encouraged to take advantage of the opportunity too. Brentford Thomas Frank said the club have been emphasizing players' social duty to get the jab. "We all have a responsibility to do our best to fight this pandemic," he said. "We can do that by getting jabbed. That's my advice. But everyone has their own choice." Brighton manager Graham Potter, who lost a 48-year-old relative to the virus, said there was unease among players about the vaccine. Asked if players' views were mixed, he replied, "Yeah, it's not unanimous. There are concerns and it's important that those concerns are addressed." Chelsea striker Romelu Lukaku says he is double vaccinated, adding, "I have family members who are high risk. As a player, it's up to you. The only thing we can do is be careful around the general population because we have a lot of responsibilities." Sea Palace manager Patrick Vieira has said the club are working hard to educate players but would not make vaccines mandatory. "What we did at the club is talk about COVID and explain what COVID is really and the impact it can have on themselves, family and other people around them," he said. Everton midfielder Fabian Delph published a quote on Instagram sharing anti-vaccine sentiments. Manager Rafael Benitez said, "We know the issues with COVID. We have lots of players isolating, and this is a problem for the team." Liverpool midfielder Thiago is another of the few players to express his support for the vaccination. "We are fortunate to have access to it," he said over the summer. "We have less risk in our profession, but the vaccine is a priority in the world." Leeds midfielder and Euro 2020 star Calvin Phillips showed his support for the jab by opening the vaccination centre at Elland Road, while striker Patrick Bamford was praised by the City Council for his positive messaging around COVID protocols. Leicester Brendan Rodgers, who lost players for a period last season after they breached COVID regulations, has said getting vaccinated should be down to the players. "It's a personal choice, and it's ultimately down to the individual," he said. Man City Pep Guardiola is hopeful that the club's medical department will convince players to get jabbed. "The doctors can do it," he said. "The players have to know that it can protect them and the rest of society, but nobody can obligate them to do it." Man United Ole Gunnar Solskjaer revealed vaccine hesitancy among his squad. "Some of them are already fully vaccinated, some are not sure," he said. But we're going to have a bigger session with them because it's important that everyone knows what it's about. Norwich manager Daniel Farke says Premier League players are less likely to get jabs compared to their counterparts in his native German because they are under less societal pressure. The social and political pressure here seems to me to be much less, he said. Newcastle, a lot of our players who haven't had the jab, said boss Steve Bruce. It's their prerogative. We've had 2 or 3 players really sick with COVID, so we've seen the severity of it firsthand. But there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. Southampton forward Theo Walcott recorded a video with the NHS after getting his second jab in which he urged others to do likewise. I encourage everyone to take note and get their vaccinations when called upon, he said. Tottenham Nuno Espirito Santo said, I respect all the personal choices each and every one of us should decide, but I'm in favor of the vaccine, and I would encourage all the players to get the vaccine. Watford Xisco, the manager, repeated the sentiment of managers saying players should not be required to get vaccinated. The only thing I can say is it's a personal situation, he said. In my case, I've had the vaccine, it's important, but it's a personal decision. Wolves winger Adama Traore was among the Spain squad who were vaccinated before European Championship over the summer. The club's under-23 squad had their summer schedule disrupted by coronavirus cases at scheduled opponents. West Ham vice-chairman Karen Brady said some players would still not get the jab if it was compulsory. Some will still say no way. She said. You can see why fit young people living in a bubble and being tested every few days are reluctant to have it.